Hello, and welcome to the OUTLIER Podcast, the podcast for everyone who is interested in building better homes. My name is Anthony, and I am the founder and lead designer of OUTLIER, and I'm passionate about creating beautiful and high-performing homes. I sit down regularly to chat with industry experts to help educate Australians about the potential of creating healthy, comfortable, and energy-efficient homes. Whether you are looking to build your forever home, renovate your existing house, or simply eager to learn more, tune in every month wherever you get your podcasts. We hope you join us on this journey. I have been very fortunate with the journey of this podcast to chat with many experts and knowledgeable people. As new people come to the podcast every week, we want to take all the highlights and helpful information from previous discussions to provide them to you to assist you with your own high-performance home journey.
All right, first episode of the new year and a big one. We've got a lot to talk about because we've got Jess Cuman with us today. Jess, thanks for taking the time. Can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and maybe explain why we're talking to you today or how the connection is with Anthony as well?
We have a building design company down in Cape Patterson called Adapt Design Group. We do a lot of work in one of Australia's most sustainable estates called the Cape. And me and Anthony have a mutual friend through music, of all things. We've got introduced through him and sort of blossomed from there.
And you've mentioned the Cape, which is something we're probably going to be focusing on a lot in our talk today. As you said, it's been named the most sustainable development in Australia. So we're talking about very energy efficient housing. And before we hit record, you already gave away a little bit of a detail of like there's an average energy rating happening. So can you explain a little bit what the Cape is and how you're involved with that development?
So the Cape, there's 232 lots in the development. It's over a very large parcel of land. You could probably fit double the amount of blocks on that if it was a normal residential development. So there's a really big focus in the Cape on open space and social connection and all that sort of stuff from a livability perspective. But then also there's a really big focus on the energy efficiency of the houses, stormwater. They look at it as a whole. So the minimum requirements for a house in the Cape is we need 7.5 stars for the energy rating. You have to have at least 10,000 litres water storage or a water tank, and that's all connected back into the house, mainly just external taps, laundries and toilets. You have to have a minimum 2.5 kilowatt solar array on your house.
Yeah.
Most houses up there are well above the minimum. That's the benchmark. That's the expectation. There's design guidelines around all of that we have to meet. There's a design review panel. But I feel like every project, no one's hanging around the bare minimums. Everyone's sort of trying to push. It's very. I live there as well. It's a very interesting place to work at, place to live at.
So what was your decision personally for deciding to reside there, Jess?
Sort of, we had some stuff going on with the existing house we had in the next town, the bigger town across. Just some issues with mold and stuff like that. It was a really old house. And
feel free to expand on that too, by the way.
Yeah, sure. So basically, all of me and my wife and my kids just had some health issues from living in a house. 70s brick veneer house. It was just old and it ended up getting a bit moldy and stuff. And for me personally, I lost all my smell, all my taste.
Oh, wow.
I had hay fever for just 2 years straight. Couldn't figure it out. Medication didn't do anything. That sort of stuff. My wife basically ended up with a bit of like an autoimmune thing where she ended up getting this thing called POTS, and that's all just from living in this house. So that was a bit of a battle. It was sort of, a good couple of years to work through that, and with little kids and trying to run a business and everyone not being well and that sort of stuff. And my girls had a lot of allergies and that sort of stuff, and it all pretty much stemmed from living in that house. And it just got to a point where we had a building biologist come out to the house and do some testing, and basically, there must have been some water leakage or something underneath the house at some stage, whatever it was. And it was just, for us personally, it wasn't a place we could live anymore. We were sensitive to the things that were going on in that house. You guys might have been okay with it. It was just, for us, it was no good. So basically, we sold up. I'd already started doing a little bit of work out at the Cape, and we just thought, well, let's just go for it. So we bit the bullet, sold the house, bought a block, and then sort of went from there. I could tell from a health perspective, everyone's a lot better now. It's like everyone's on the up and up. Like that, there's no hay fever anymore. I've got taste back. I've got smell back. Wife's so much better. Kids' allergies have sorted themselves out. It was, it was very, very. It was a testing time, but I guess we learned a lot from it. If anything, it's the only one thing we could take away from it, and that really kind of helped. I guess internally from a business perspective is like the big focus for us when we're doing stuff that is not an issue for anyone who lives in a house that we've designed. So
my mind went straight to and then you had the most amazing opportunity of being able to design your own home.
Or challenge, depends which way you look at it.
So what was that like for you, being able to?
Honestly, I sketched up a few things. I couldn't get anything to work. Back in 2019, so the Building Designers Association Victoria, or Design Matters, now they have a 10-star challenge that they do every year. So design a house, get it to 10 stars. We entered it. We were lucky enough to win it.
Oh, wow.
So basically I was there, I was sketching, I looked up at the wall, we had a little picture on the wall and thought, why aren't we building that house? So the whole thing for designing that house was doing something that's 10 stars, that's efficient, air quality, non-toxic, all of those things were super important. I'm like, why don't we just build that? Like, we could do that. It's already designed. I just need to put another bedroom on, give it a bit of a tweak, made it work for the block that we had, and then sort of went from there. So we've got a house that we designed to 10. Can we build it? So, put your money where your mouth is. Like, we can design these things. Let's build one. So we did. It didn't get to 10, obviously. I got it to 9, but I really didn't have to do. I wasn't doing anything out of the norm that any builder who's built a house before couldn't do. Other than there was a bit of a focus, and this is Cape stuff, Cape guidelines too. There was a focus on sealing up the building. We splashed out. We did thermally broken aluminium windows. That was one thing that we really spent some money on, and the rest of it was just finding a builder that gets it, that's happy to work with us.
How many homes do you think it's been in total that you've been involved with in that development alone?
Yeah, so I crunched the numbers before. We're up around 50 at the moment. So we're lucky we work in with the 3 sort of main builders that have done the majority of the work up there. And then obviously we have our own clients as well that come directly to us. But yeah, we're at about 50, and the majority of those houses have actually been built.
I have heard and I can't substantiate this, but I have heard that up to 60% of designs don't make it through to construction in Victoria. That fluctuates from state to state. I've heard it's higher in Queensland, but yeah. So, and I'd imagine a good portion of that's due to budget constraint. So
Absolutely. We're extremely lucky that the builders that we do work with, or that we refer clients onto, they're happy to share knowledge with us so that we can forward it on to clients. So, we're making informed decisions right from the outset, And same with the client, they're making informed decisions right from the outset.
It's so critical to have that team together from day one, right? And
Oh,
otherwise, how as designers, it's not our expertise in construction, cost, and value management. That's definitely a builder's, and I can't stress that enough to anyone listening as well.
Can you share a little bit of what the focuses are in your designs that you can achieve a high energy rating in a very efficient house, but still, stay on budget and make it affordable? What's the secret that you can share?
So first thing for us is getting those passive solar design principles right and in place. So orientation, that's the first thing you control. Orientation, shading, making sure that the layout of the house is, most of it's facing north where we can. And for me, like, it's always the living room. It just has to have the correct orientation. And then from there, I'll go to the next biggest room. And this is to do sort of with some energy rating stuff and heating and cooling loads. I always want the main living space, the next biggest space, which usually might be like either a rumpus room or a master bedroom. And then I'm happy to sacrifice on the other room. So those secondary bedrooms, if I can't get them facing north, they might come around to the south. So then we start having a look at things like shading. Then we've got passive heating and cooling. So things like thermal mass, cross-flow ventilation, glazing's huge. Making sure your glazing is facing the right way, that the size is the right proportion to the room that it's in. That design-wise, they're sort of the big three, I reckon. And then from there, once we start getting into like documentation side of things and detailing, then we start having a look at, insulation, how we're going to seal up the building, how we're going to ventilate the building. And then again, for me personally, there's that condensation management stuff, which is sort of, it's becoming a bit more prevalent, as you've sort of mentioned before, with the new building reg stuff, and especially with passive house and that sort of gear. So
you are a thermal assessor as well as a designer. Would you say that that influences the way you design as well? The fact that you're doing this at the same time as you're designing, you're also using thermal assessment software and getting those ratios of glazing right, and yeah,
absolutely. So for us, we'll do an energy rating once we've sort of into our design development stage. Really, that's about being able to see where it's at as a star rating. We might be aiming for 8, but then we can really focus in on each of the rooms. So we'll do a breakdown. We'll check out all the rooms. We'll see which rooms are performing the worst. Why are they performing the way they are? What can we do to fix it? So we can do those changes early on in the piece before it's finished and engineering's done and they've got a quote from the builder and we're going for a building permit and, do we need an energy rating? Yeah, we'll do that quickly. We sort of do that at the start. It's part of the design process. We just need to know that it's hitting the targets that we're aiming for. If someone's going for, say, 8 stars or 9 stars or whatever, like instantly I know that the form is going to be very simple. We need to reduce surface area. We need to make sure everything's pointing in the right direction. So, if the brief's that we're going for 8 or 9 stars or whatever, that will definitely play a part in how I lay out the building on the site.
So what's kind of the experience that you've had with the 50 houses that you've designed in that development, of like what the clients are like, what their focus point is, what they want from their houses? Yeah.
I guess the Cape's very interesting because people either have known about it for years or they'll stumble upon it and have never heard of Cape Patterson before. But the reason they stumble upon it is because they're of that mindset already. They're looking for that. So now they have a platform where they can have the energy efficient house. They can have the veggie garden. They can basically knock their bills out. They have a solar, they have battery. So it's very different, the clientele that we have within the estate versus, say, the clientele that we would have that aren't doing stuff in the estate. They're very switched on. They know what they want. They've done their homework. They understand the passive solar design principles. They're asking very technical questions about, it could be the solar, their technical questions about the windows and why we should use this window over that window, and we found this company. What do you think of this? These people are coming in with a really good knowledge base to start off with. You have some really interesting conversations through the design process, but it's really easy to sort of portray what you're trying to achieve to someone who already gets it. So that's one thing. And
thank you for listening to the Outlier Podcast. You can find helpful links and contact information regarding this episode in our show notes and on our website, outlierstudio.com.au/podcast. If you like our show, please leave a review and make sure you subscribe to never miss a new episode. If you have further questions for us or would want to share some additional feedback, please feel free to DM us on Instagram or Facebook. Until next time on the Outlier Podcast.